A Sustainable Mind, Episode 4. This is A Sustainable Mind podcast, where we delve into the minds behind today's most impactful environmental campaigns, organizations, and startups, inspiring the environmental changemakers of tomorrow. I'm your host, Marjorie Alexander. Today I am very happy to welcome to the show AnneMaries Bonneau. AnneMaries is a self-taught cooking extraordinaire, making all of her own food from scratch, from sourdough starters to kombucha. She writes a fantastic blog called Zero Waste Chef, where she empowers everyday people to do the same. Hi, AnneMaries.
Hi, Marjorie.
How are you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Excellent. Okay, so I want to start from the beginning. A lot of individuals who live this sustainable lifestyle actually didn't start out that way. So I want you to talk a little bit about your childhood and how eco-friendly practices might have figured into your life growing up or not.
Okay. Well, we weren't eco-friendly, I don't think. However, my dad is the cheapest man alive. And so I think because of that, we probably did do some eco things, to save money. Also, growing up, I was born in 68, so I grew up in the 70s. I mean, consumerism wasn't rampant like it is now.
Right.
It wasn't, it was still there, but it's totally out of control now.
Mm-hmm.
But there is one thing I think that had a big effect on me. We had a giant pool. This was in Canada, and it cost a fortune to heat it. So I think this was in the early 80s. I helped my dad build a solar thermal heater for the pool. And I talk about this all the time. It worked it just worked so well. It was a giant wooden box. It was painted green. I think it was my job to paint the outside of the box. And it must have been about, 20 feet wide and maybe 7 feet deep, and it was slanted. And so he put rocks, big, huge rocks inside of it. And I know I painted those black. I remember that. And then he, coiled up, PVC tubing and had 3 coils and then put glass on top of that, on top of the whole structure. And then he'd pump water from the pool through those and back in. And it worked so well. And it saved $1,000 every summer.
Wow.
It used no energy, just the sun. And this is in Canada where the weather is, lousy. Not like here. Here it's where I live. It's sunny every day. So, that would work really well. Even better, I guess. But yeah, so I think that got me interested. I've always been interested in since then, alternative energy, but I didn't do anything about it.
So as you were leaving the nest, so high school and then getting a job or going to college, did you consider yourself a typical consumer after leaving home?
Yeah, I'd say so. Oh yeah. I loved clothes. I had so many clothes. Yeah. Oh yeah, I was just like a normal. But I did have this dream in high school. I used to talk about it. My high school physics teacher took a year off, and he and his family moved to a farm, and they lived off the land for a year. And I remember saying back then that I wanted to do that. Still haven't done it. And then I went off to school in Canada, and I was aware of environmental issues, and I did things like I would shop with cloth bags, reusable bags, and things like that. And then when my kids were born, I used cloth diapers, but...
So what was the main turning point? What was the point at which it was more of an intentional thing and not just, that might be good to do, but this is the lifestyle I'm going to lead? Yeah.
I'd say, in 2011, or 2010, 2011, I started reading about the plastic gyres in the oceans, and that did it. I just thought, I don't want to have any part of this. I love animals. I'm a completely crazy cat lady. And, reading about I can't look at the pictures, of the albatrosses with the plastic in their stomachs and the seals with all, fishing nets they're all tangled up and like it's such a mess. And I complained about it, but I didn't do anything again. And then my daughter's the one that got us started. Mary Catherine, she went online. She said, there has to be some solutions to stop using all this plastic. And then she found Beth Terry's blog, and that's what got us started. Beth Terry's blog is My Plastic Free Life.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we started doing some of the things Beth did, and then Mary Catherine started her blog, The Plastic Free Chef. And so that's when it all started.
Do you feel like you've had any instances in this journey so far that you tried something and you were so convinced that it would work and you realized later on that, yeah, that was probably not a good idea, or I thought I was doing something that was eco-friendly and it actually wasn't?
I do think until I do get that farm, some of this stuff is sort of not in my backyard kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, I do go to the bulk store. That's good. And I bring my own jars and I bring my cloth bags. And I think people should do that. But, I'm still contributing. But, I'm contributing if I'm alive. It's good to have high goals, but, I think if you try and be perfect, well, you can't, it's not possible. So you just do your best.
Yeah, I was reading your blog a few weeks ago, and I remember very distinctly you saying, don't strive for perfection. Everyone's got to start somewhere. So I think that that's a really good point that, you start with one thing and you give your attention to that. And once you've kind of got that down and you've purchased your containers or you've gotten into the rhythm of something, then you can move on to something else. And it really is one step at a time. And people like yourself, who others of us look up to, for you to admit that you're not perfect and, you drive long distances to this store once a month or whatever, reminds us all that it's very much a journey and not just this space that you either live in or you don't,
Right. Oh, I'm definitely not perfect. No. So, yeah, I think, and I think the hardest part is getting started. This new lifestyle I've adopted, it brings me so much joy. I had no idea. I just wanted to stop using plastic. And then it led down this road. I started eating better, and I always cooked, but not everything from scratch. And so I eat better. I don't get sick. And all of the things I do, they're just so much fun. Like fermentation is so much fun. I just love it. And I feel like, it makes you more engaged with the natural world, even though I'm in my kitchen cooking, because I'm interacting with these microbes and I'm understanding what's going on with them. And yeah, it's just brought me a lot of joy.
I want to, switch gears here and talk a little bit about your blog, ZeroWasteChef.com. So you teach, it seems like you've got a ton of free webinars, going on all the time.
I did 3 last month and I'm doing 3 this month.
Wow.
And, I do in-person workshops. So, I'm trying to get the word out.
So did this start as, obviously you were doing this in your own home, so was it something that just came to you as an obvious thing that you needed to put this online, or was there someone who said, you really should, publish a blog? How did that conversation happen?
Well, the blog, the way the blog got started is, so my daughter was writing The Plastic Free Chef, and I loved it. And she was only 16 when she started it, and she's a fantastic cook. Mary Catherine's she's really gifted in the kitchen. And so I loved that. And then she went off to school and she found it really difficult to keep up.
Yeah.
She found it difficult, just to keep up the lifestyle, but also find the time to write. And so I said, well, can I take it over? And she said, no. Actually, it was no way. And she said, start your own blog. So I did. So I started my own.
Oh, wow. I had no idea that your blog came second.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't have that picture in my mind.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. Mary Catherine's the one that started it all.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and now her younger sister says to her, why did you do that? I think they're both thinking, what has Mary Catherine created? Yeah, so then I started the blog, and then I actually started teaching my neighbors how to ferment food. I live in an intentional community, and we have a community kitchen, and so I started teaching them in there, and it was so much fun. They just loved it. And then and then I posted, I didn't think anybody would take me up on it. I posted on the Zero Waste Chef Facebook page that I was teaching these classes, and a couple of people said, hey, we want to come.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So then I rented it was really hard to find. I rented a commercial kitchen, and I taught a couple of classes in there. But then I decided just to do it at home from my home, because I have so many things I want to show people.
Yeah.
Like, we'll just get talking about something, and I'll say, oh yeah, I have a starter for that, and I'll pull it out of my fridge, or, So, so I've been doing that. And then, I started doing the webinars this year online. Obviously online. Yeah, just to reach more people. I have a lot of readers in the UK and Australia and, in the US. Mm-hmm. So I thought, be a good way to reach more people and spread the word. And actually, a friend of mine says stuff like, oh, you should start a company, start selling your kombucha. And people have asked me to buy my kombucha. Mm-hmm. But I really want to teach people how to do it themselves.
Yeah.
I think the last thing the world needs is another specialty food business. I think we can barely feed ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We've lost we have lost all this knowledge, or nearly lost it. And, parents aren't cooking, and their kids aren't learning to cook. And, they're reading all this junk, and it's bad for the planet, and it's bad for us.
Well, what are you super excited about right now that's kind of new in your business? I mean, it's a business for you, right?
Oh, it's just starting out.
Well,
I'm just starting out. It's just little.
You say that now.
Yeah, well, the summer is slow too. I noticed
true.
after the July 4th weekend, it's been really quiet.
Mm-hmm. So summers are kind of slow. Is there anything that you're starting up in the fall that you're really excited about?
Well, I'm still going to teach kombucha and sauerkraut, but I'm adding a sourdough class to my schedule, which my sourdough bread, it's a 3-day process. So I have to teach it in steps and have the dough ready and different. So it took, I sat down, I've sat down a few times, but I finally finished last week my little lesson plan and figuring out, what loaf has to be at what stage, at what time, and when to show them this and that.
And it's live, so it's not like, you have to time the starters, which are actually, I mean, obviously this is something that you do often, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got, 10:15, do this,
Right, wow.
10:45, move on to that. 11 o'clock, pull this dough out of here. This is an in-person class, not online.
Right,
it's going to be at least 3 hours, probably 4.
Wow.
So I'm excited about that. And actually, that one is going to be expensive because I only want 3 people maximum. Mm-hmm. Because it's so hands-on. It's like you're apprenticing, kind of, with it. So I'm excited about that. And I'm excited about all the research coming out about our gut and the microbiota.
Well, that actually brings us to a wonderful topic that you spoke of earlier, which was fermentation. Mm-hmm. And, I guess I just never thought about fermentation, but can you ferment anything, technically?
You can ferment a lot. Have you seen the Portlandia video?
I've seen a couple episodes, but not anything about fermentation, so I guess I missed that one.
That little short clip, we can pickle that. And my younger daughter showed it to me. She said, that's you!
So is fermenting and pickling the same thing?
Well, that's a good question. So I'm actually going to write a post on the differences between fermentation and canning.
Okay.
Because people get them mixed up.
Yes.
So canning, you pasteurize the food and you kill all the bad bacteria, but you kill all the good bacteria. And basically that food is dead. Okay. So it's shelf stable. It'll be fine in 10 years. You can eat it if there's, an apocalypse or something. Fermented food, it's alive. And, so it's a different process. It does preserve it. It extends the preservation. So if you have a head of cabbage and you leave it out on the counter, you'll have a big pile of goo after, I don't know how long, a few weeks, say. But if you chop that cabbage up and you squeeze the juices out of it and you add salt to it and you pack it in a jar, it has, the cabbage has lactic acid bacteria on it, and they're anaerobic bacteria, and so they thrive when they're submerged in liquid. So you pack it, and it's submerged in its own juices, and then it starts to ferment. And fermentation is it's controlled rot, which doesn't sound very appetizing. But that's what it is. The organisms are pre-digesting the food, and they boost the nutritional value of the food. They make the vitamins and minerals more bioavailable. And it's delicious. I mean, fermented food's so good. All the good stuff is fermented.
Okay.
Like cheese and wine yogurt and chocolate and tea and coffee. They all rely on fermentation at some point in their production. And it doesn't use any energy. Whereas canning, you've got to heat up a big pot of water and you cook the food and then you put it in a hot water bath and for, 15, 20 minutes, you boil it and you just kill everything. And you can't really, you can't get sick from properly fermented food. The bad bacteria can't live in the acidic environment created by the lactic acid bacteria. Right. So you can ferment all sorts of vegetables. Some work better than others. I tried squash once. That didn't work well. It's too mushy. But I ferment. Gee, I ferment everything. I ferment, so I make sauerkraut and I make krautchi, which is sort of a cross between sauerkraut and kimchi, and I put in carrots and radishes and ginger and garlic and hot peppers. I ferment salsa. It's so good. And it's so easy. All of this stuff is so easy to do. When I show my students how to do stuff, they say, really? That's it? That's all you do? Like there's this big mystery behind cooking. Yeah, like we have to leave it up to the pros. We can't do it ourselves. And that's another blog post I wrote. I'm not a professional chef, and that is the point. I'm just, just a regular person. Anybody can do this stuff. Anybody can make, it takes a little bit of practice, but, you can make sourdough bread and, you can ferment stuff. What else I make kombucha. I make ginger beer. My latest batch is so good. All it has in it is ginger, sugar, and water. It's fantastic. Yeah, you make a ginger bug first. It's like a starter. And ginger has a lot of yeast on it. Yeast and bacteria. It has to be organic ginger, though. Otherwise, it may have been irradiated. And you make a ginger bug, and then you use that to make your ginger beer. And it's fantastic. So all this stuff's so fun. And I think anyone trying to simplify their life will eventually stumble onto fermentation and doesn't use, so the fermented drinks use a little bit of energy, to boil some water, but the, sauerkraut and salsa, you don't need to cook them. You don't have to use a stove. It's just, and it's easy. It's easy to do. So I think, I've had several people, I'll show people books they should get, if they're interested in fermentation. One is The Art of Fermentation by Sandor Katz. And I'll show them that, and a couple of people have said, oh, I actually have that book, but I want someone to show me how to do it.
Right.
They're afraid they're going to
mess it up.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I definitely am going to have to tune in for several of these webinars because, I've been reading your blog on and off for several months.
Oh, thank you.
And I guess I just never really considered watching a webinar because, I don't know, I'm a graduate student and I feel like I don't have time to cook.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's hard. It is hard.
Well, now that I'm almost done.
Oh, yeah. Oh, great.
I'm definitely going to be tuning in because, things like salsa are so, I hate to go to the store and pay $7 for, this tiny little 4-ounce or 8-ounce container.
Yeah.
And if it's for a party, it's going to be gone in 20 minutes. And you multiply that by, 4 dips, and then you've got this over there, and it's a holiday, and you're hosting, and all of a sudden you spent $100 for 6 people. And It doesn't make any sense, but if I gave myself a couple days and I educated myself on blogs like yours, Zero Waste Chef, you can save a lot of money, and it can be fun, so.
Oh, yeah, it's so much fun. Oh, I think, another person who interviewed me asked me, how much do you save money? And, I think I probably do. I buy really good ingredients, though. If I was only concerned with saving money, I could buy the cheapest ingredients possible, and then I would, I can make soup out of basically nothing. But I do spend a lot on good quality ingredients. But a bottle of my kombucha, using all organic stuff, really good stuff, it might cost 50 cents.
What?
Yeah, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. My roommate has kombucha and she loves it, but she buys it, she'll buy a bottle of it a couple times a week. And, number one, I'm still getting used to the taste, but I just say, it costs so much money. I just don't see the point. I'll just buy apple cider vinegar or something,
That's true.
Not that I know anything about apple cider vinegar. I just know that people drink it for health purposes. I haven't researched it or anything, but if it only costs 50 cents, I will definitely jump on that bandwagon. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think and that's using really good tea. I use expensive tea.
Here's an interesting question for you that I might have to actually lower this dollar amount, but let's just say the item can't be food related.
Okay.
What was one purchase that you've made in the last 6 months for under $100 that has greatly impacted your life? It can be anything.
Less than $100.
Yeah. But I'm assuming, you buy a lot of things for under $100.
Yeah. I buy food and sometimes books. Mm-hmm. I have a friend who keeps buying me stuff. He does. He keeps bringing stuff over. Which is sweet, but my apartment's tiny. If I buy so much as a teacup, I have to rearrange the whole thing. So, I do love little things to organize my kitchen. So I haven't bought this in, I don't think it's been longer than 6 months, but I have a bar that I hang up all my tools, and I have a hanging basket for all my fruit to free up counter space.
Yeah, I've seen those. Those are very, very handy.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're beautiful.
Yeah, it looks nice.
It's not just a plain shelf.
Yeah.
So if your younger self had access to a time machine and could travel to the present to speak with you, what would she ask you, or what would she say?
You're still single?
There's nothing wrong with that.
What would she say? Oh, what would she? I can think of a lot of stuff I'd say to her.
Well, no, this is what she's going to ask you.
What's she going to ask me? Well, I hope she would ask, how can I get to the point you're at now sooner.
Yeah.
I hope she would ask that, but I don't think she was. How old is she?
I don't know. 13?
Oh, 13.
Or 16? I don't know. Kids grow up these days so much faster than even I grew up, so I'm not really sure. Maybe
how can I start now? I hope she'd ask that.
Yeah. Start earlier.
Yeah, or what, hopefully she'd see me and not be afraid to do something. Hopefully see me and not worry and think, oh, look, she's doing okay, or I'm doing okay.
Right.
I should throw myself into something.
Is there anything that was holding you back? I mean, I sense that there was a little bit of, thinking of your younger self, that there was some fear. I mean, was there anything that was ever holding you back from living a specific path?
Well, I think it was harder because I've always been kind of interested in this type of thing since I was a teenager. But I didn't know other people who were also interested in it. So I think the internet has really helped.
Yeah.
Because, I found so many other people who are interested in the same thing. So, and I didn't really know many people back then. Yeah, what else was holding me back? Well, I went to school for engineering. I ended up with an English degree. But
a little different.
Yeah. But so math and science were always my first love. Well, math was my first love. And so when I applied to university in Canada, I don't think there were any environmental studies programs back then, but I'm not sure. They may have just been starting. But anyway, I didn't even think of that. I just thought, oh, I've got to get something, take some sort of science program that's going to lead to a job. And I think I was trying to be practical.
Yeah.
Instead of maybe going with something that I'd be more passionate about. But then at that age, how do you know?
You don't. You just try stuff.
Yeah, you just try stuff. Like my older daughter, she wants to cook. Mm-hmm. She wants to cook for a living. And she's just been that way her whole life. So she's really lucky that way. But I think most people, they just don't know.
Yeah.
And then I think when I had my kids, I just was so busy. I could have done things differently. Although I did use cloth diapers and I did breastfeed them both. And, which is the perfect food. It's the perfect zero waste food.
It's so true.
Oh, yeah.
Never thought about that. That's very true. It's very eco-friendly to breastfeed, folks. So take notes.
It's good for you. It's good for the baby. And I know people get upset when you say that. It's, because some people can't do it. And but it is. It's just it's free. Mm-hmm. You get to eat more because you have to burn about 500 calories a day breastfeeding.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to, you were saying that you started out being interested in mathematics and engineering, and are there any ways that your previous studies or your previous career have melded a bit with what you're doing with Zero Waste Chef?
Well, my English degree for sure.
Well, yeah.
Because it's with a concentration in creative writing.
Mm-hmm. So
I like to write. And, but even when I was in creative writing, I thought, so I went back to school as an adult and finished. But when I was, writing these stories, and I do like to write, I'd think, this is great, but there's already tons of good literature out there, and the planet is, it needs a lot of help.
Yeah.
And how am I helping writing stories? So I like, with my blog, I'm able to be creative, but, hopefully spread good information. So, and my job for sure. Right now I work for a small publisher, and we rewrite books for entrepreneurs and small business. And, so that's really helped me because, my boss, she is the queen of milking content.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. So, I've learned a lot working there. That's helped a lot.
You mentioned a couple books, including The Art of Fermentation, which I'll definitely have to pick up at the library. But when it comes to mindset specifically, can you suggest a book that speaks about mindset or can get people into the zone of, I'm going to start living this path and being the change that I want to see in the world, not cooking specifically or not any specific issue, but something that's more mindset related?
Well, I mean, I can think of lots of books to recommend, but you're talking more about a book that is more practical and they can read it and start doing something.
People think that, and I don't like the term going green because I think that it's almost like the green washed version of the word, Yeah. But people think that living a more earth conscious lifestyle is so difficult. It's so hard. And also people don't want to, now that climate change is very big in the news, we know that things are going on, but we don't want to know the details, because once we know the details, you can't unring that bell. You can't unlearn something, and then you feel compelled to do something about it. And I think that people don't want that responsibility. So the books that I'm kind of aiming at with this particular question are things that just can, I guess, ease people in to sustainable living in general.
I think The Omnivores Dilemma by Michael Pollan, that's a great one, because it's all about the American food system, which is, I don't think people realize how closely the environment and food are related, or they don't think about it, or how much damage the industrial food system does to the environment. So I think he's such a fabulous writer, and he won a Pulitzer for that, and it just exposes you to what's going on with our food system. Actually, anything by Michael Pollan, I just love him. And then, and then maybe The Story of Stuff. There's the video, but it's also a book.
Can you recommend an internet resource that you have found very helpful for yourself?
I'm on there I'm on the internet too much, but I think I get more of my information from books than online. I mean, I love Beth Terry's blog. Everyone should go look at that. It's myplasticfreelife.com. Yeah, she's wonderful. I've met her a couple of times. Yeah, she's great. So, yeah, I would tell people go and look at her. I've got to make a resource page for my blog, actually.
And you put so many wonderful links in your blog posts. I mean, you link everything,
Yeah, I link all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, yeah, if you just collect those on one resource page and then put, your categories or whatever. Yeah, super, super helpful. I would be going to that page on your website all the time.
Okay. Yeah, I just made a note. I have so many things I know I need to do.
What are because I know that there are, there's some listeners that are going to be just everyday consumers, just average people who want to incorporate more earth conscious choices into their lives. But then there are also some listeners that are already doing that, but want to take it one step further and want to start, disseminating what they know to other people through a blog, through videos on YouTube, through whatever. So in your process of publishing various things on ZeroWasteChef.com, what connections, what people have you fostered relationships with that have really helped you? I mean, obviously other bloggers, but what kind of other resources or tools and people have you found that were really helpful kind of along your journey?
Well, I've been going to more lectures and talks since I started this, and those are really helpful. I heard Dan Barber speak, and his book's fantastic also, The Third Plate. And I heard Michael Pollan and Mark Bittman a couple of months ago. Right, so yeah, lectures, I think, are really good. And you meet people at them, and I don't know, you learn stuff. And they're fun. I enjoy them. So I'm hoping to go to more of those, and then, you can write posts about them. And then social media can suck all of your time up if you let it. And so I think when you're starting out, it might be a good idea to set some rules around that. Like, I will only spend this much time on social media, and it's getting hard for me to answer all the comments. Not so much on my blog, but on the other, Instagram and Facebook. It's a bit much.
Yeah. Yes, I saw, I don't know what it was. It was a post on Instagram, and you were going back and forth with somebody, and like both of you are writing entire paragraphs, which is wonderful. I mean, that's something that I would do, but it kind of surprised me. And then at the very end, this person asked like this one-liner question, and you hadn't gotten to answering it yet.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, obviously not to make you feel bad or anything, but I mean, this is what happens. You're building a business, you're building a blog, and people want to know everything, but that's what the posts are for, and that's what the videos are for, and the webinars. So hopefully people can start to, use that little search function on your blog and go find the answer, because I think that you answered that question already. I'm pretty sure. So.
Yeah, and I get emails too. It's nice though. I mean, if someone had told me when I started this so I started it last March. Mm-hmm. So it hasn't even been a year and a half. If someone had said you're going to have, this and this happen, I would have been really surprised. Like I've just had really good response, and I've had a few things go viral, and I met Michael Pollan.
Well, that's what happens when you provide amazing content that is super helpful for people, and you're so real and down to earth and easy to relate to. And I think that because you're not a professional chef, people feel like, well, if she can do it, I can do it too. And there's no ego there. There's no, you have to buy the best of everything. Start where you are, and you really have that air about you, which comes across in your writing, and I'm sure it comes across in your webinars, which I'll be definitely attending. Do you have any final pieces of guidance or quotes that you live by, or mantras that you want to leave us with?
Well, there's the one quote on my blog, on my About page, by Bill Buford. He wrote a book called Heat. He worked at the New Yorker for a long time. I think he was the editor. And he quit to go work at Mario Batali's kitchen for free. Oh. And he wrote this book, Heat, about his experience. And he has this great quote in the book that I put on my blog. And it is, "Food made by hand is an act of defiance and runs contrary to everything in modernity."
That's very true, actually.
Yep.
And when you think of it, fast food or pre-made food is like the epitome of modernity, because, you have to eat. Everyone has to eat. And even the most financially challenged people and families are sucked in by this one thing. You can't buy an expensive car. You might not even have a car. You can't buy expensive clothes. You can't buy expensive this or that. But you buy, a $15 fast food meal when you could have made a meal for 4 people on $10 at home. And obviously there are a lot of other restrictions around that time and resources and all of that stuff. So I don't want to get into a conversation about that, but you're right. I mean, it sucks you into this vicious cycle that I think a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yes. That's a good point to end on. So for people to learn more, obviously there's your website, ZeroWasteChef.com. Mm-hmm. And are all of your social medias the same? Like your Instagram and Facebook and Twitter? Okay.
Yeah, they're all Zero Waste Chef.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I grabbed those as soon as I wrote my first post. I thought, okay, I've got to make sure those are all available.
Well, thanks so much, AnneMarie, and you have provided so much helpful information and a couple things that I was able to pick your brain about that were more personal to me, but I'm sure that my listeners will find those helpful as well. So I really appreciate you taking time this morning to join us.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Marjorie.
If you want to check out any of the resources mentioned today, or to see a calendar of AnneMarie's upcoming webinars, please go to A Sustainable Mind and type AnneMarie into the search bar. You've been listening to A Sustainable Mind podcast. To hear more interviews just like this one, please subscribe on iTunes or visit asustainablemind.com. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.